that your thoughts of any nature now, we've discovered that, your thoughts don't belong to you at all. At the start of seeing this, of understanding it, it is bad news indeed. But it is bad news to who we want it to be bad news to, which is my vanity. The seeing of this at the start causes the pain, because I want to be vain. I want these thoughts that I built up this business, that I have that woman, that I have that man, that I am impressive. I want these thoughts to label me, identify me. So the only thing it's bad news to understand all these things is the bad news to my sickness, to my unhealth, which will bring us, after a while, after beginning to understand these things in a preliminary way, which will bring us to the point where we have to begin to make a choice between which I want. Do I want my thoughts, which form the lying me, or am I willing to understand that they are not really my thoughts, which means I make the choice of giving up who I have always been? This person with the alternating pains and pleasures of conquest, or the pleasure of conquest, or the pain of losing what I conquered, perhaps. But when I get to the point where I make my first choice for abandoning the nucleus of the thought self, this is the beginning of this real mystical experience by which I can understand that the unhealthy land is abandoned by abandoning my thought self, everything that goes with it, anger and so on. And as I begin to see this, let me rephrase that. If I could see this all at once, that seeing that self-abandonment is the same as abandoning the unhealthy country, without time being involved, without space being involved, I would instantly be in the other country. The abandonment of the unhealthy country being the same thing as the extinction of the unhealthy thoughts, by which I even say, here I am in the slums, how can I get out? This is a long, long ways and a long struggle. But when I cease to even say and ask the question, I'm in the slums, the unhealthy country, how can I get to the healthy country, whatever that may be, and I don't know. When thought has so ceased to say that there is someone in the unhealthy country, when thought has ceased to say that, it then ceased to operate as me, as the unhealthy country, as the pain, and the dropping of that is the inner miracle by which I disappear, and when I disappear, how can there be slums? How can there be unhealth? As I go instantaneously, and without time and without space, I, without being I, but now being the universal self, the cosmic self, and I'm using words, am I not? And you understand that I must use words. The abandonment, the dissolution of that is all by itself in a flash, in the twinkling of an eye, is the other country which was always there. So to even say that it's going to take time for me to reach the other country, the healthy country, to even say that it's going to take time is essentially wrong, although we have to refer to time in order to understand it. Because it's always the nucleus center built of imaginary thoughts about myself. It's this center that thinks in time. When it goes, since time exists only in ordinary thought, when it vanishes, when I vanishes, then what else is there? There's something that I can't possibly imagine and don't need to imagine. All I have to do is see the mistake that I've made all these years and begin to correct that. And of course, we know that we're here on Saturday morning and we'll be in another place, same kind of meeting on Sunday morning. We know that that involves time because we're thinking about time by the clock, because we have to do that in the physical plane. But if I could understand this right here now, all of us sitting here, and I'm sitting back, changing the state, starting it physically. If I could see all of this right now, I wouldn't have to say, oh, I've built up this sickness for 30 or 40 years. How many years will it take to get rid of it? If you could let yourself go, if you could comprehend, let yourself go right now as you're seated here, you would be in this healthy country, in eternity that is. But you can use this beginning ray of light to shine on what you are saying to yourself. These lying parts, the nucleus of the thought self. You can let this light shine on it to expose it. Because now this light in itself will show you that the parts that are screaming, that are afraid, or are actual demons in you that you never knew were demons before, because you called them safety devices. You called them rescuers. You called them strength. You called them the right thing to do in order to keep you safe. But this little bit of light that you've welcomed, making this first decision, shining on them, reveals them as devils in you. And the very light itself now becomes the strength itself, because now when you recognize a devil in you or in me as a devil, that's the decision. The decision is made, because the light itself is telling you what can darkness do inside of you but to cause you to stumble, but cause you to get hurt all day long. And please do remember what I just said, that the admission, the welcoming of the light is, and it's very complex to explain to you, because you've already made one little light decision, but the light that then comes is the second decision, which does the work for you. And then this feeling of helplessness and hopelessness that you prized so much before also fades of itself, begins to go out of your life in the form of thoughts and feelings. They begin to go out of your life because the light shows you that they were false helpers, they were false rescuers. I've explained to you in just a few words a process that in time, that because we are in time and we don't want to give up time, that may take quite a while, may take many years for you to do, because the struggle, the battle is so fierce at the start. But I've given it to you in capsule form. I've described to you what will happen to you, and this will be beneficial to you, because when you reach these various stages that we're talking about, your right work memory will bring them up. This is right idea, and we'll say, that's right, I've heard that explained before. This is right confirmation, right encouragement to you, so that when you recall what's happening to you, when you bring them up, this is a form of light which will help you to be strong, because the remembrance, the right remembrance, the spirit of remembrance is your strength. So thank heaven You don't have to depend on yourself anymore to be strong. You see, to repeat what the slip said, if I want to be strong of Vernon, of Chuck, of Frank, if I want to be strong in my own name, then I will also want to be weak in my own name, and either one will do. I don't care. As long as I have the idea that I am weak and helpless and hopeless, great. But since that will have an opposite, I will also be in love with the idea that I'm either strong or getting strong in my own name. And then I will be gone in delusion, and I may join a religious organization or may live all by myself with my own ideas of what it means to be strong or to be weak. But in either case, in any case, I'm a lost human being who has no idea of what it really means to be strong, because I, of my own self, want to be strong. We go on to twist things around. God's thought is your thought. God's thought is your strength when you are not there thinking about whether you're weak or strong. Either one. See? You've disappeared. So the authentic strength with a capital S, not with the small letters, is yours when you don't have to worry or whether you're strong or not. You see, the little imps, the devils, the demons that will attack you all day long, both inside you and outside, the world's whole purpose is to attack you. And don't you take vanity out of that, or that will build your faults. Being persecuted. Don't you dare feel persecuted. Their whole purpose is to attack you in order to keep you exactly where you are. Everything you've learned here is the counterattack without being attacked at all, because there's no opposite there. Your own understanding of everything that we've talked about is the effortless power, the effortless action by which you can walk right through hell and not be burned by it, because you are not there really. This is what it means to be in the world but not be of it. Marvelous, isn't it? Aren't you glad? Glad, what word can we use to express the marvel, the amazement that we've run across this?
Right.
That finally, after all these years, we finally sense a much higher sensing that there is a God, that there is, which is not a word anymore. He used to be a word. That God actually exists, and he exists as the whole and includes anyone who wants him more than he or she wants her own separate personality.
Amen.
How nice to know that I don't have to battle for a thing. I don't have to battle to find God even. To battle to find God would be to create a false God, therefore to push God away. When I sit back and let God be everything, then I am one with that, and all problems are solved, now and forever. We'll take a break. Ponder the following, and let's have your comments on it. All self-concern will keep me out of the kingdom. All self-concern will keep me out of the kingdom. What do you make of that? Comments? Yes, Mark.
The kingdom has nothing to do with the self.
All right, good start. What else?
Self-concern is me.
Self-concern is me. Rudy.
The sooner I find out, the better for me.
Say that again.
The sooner I find out, the better for me.
Find out these facts.
The self separates me from the whole when it becomes fragmented.
That's very good. Sally?
If my mind is only concerned about me, there's no space to let anything else in.
Yes. All right. Fred, please.
I have to put my trust in something else.
All right, yes. We can use the word trust, but who's trusting what? How can you trust something you don't know about? The self can't trust God. The self doesn't know God. The self can only trust the self, which makes it very nervous.
Isn't self-concern always division?
Always division, yes.
There's a connection with a talk that you gave recently about standing before the door, going into the kingdom. The connection being the absence of the self is the key
Right.
to pass through the door.
Right, right. Chuck.
Silence is the deliverance.
Fine.
My nervous stomach, my bad temper cannot get past the door.
Can't what?
Cannot get through the doorway.
Correct. Leave junk outside, including your bad tummy. Larry.
If I could understand what my real self was, I would not imagine a door to have to go through.
Yes. And do you understand that you can't imagine what your real self is? If you're imagining, it's a false self. There's no imagination in the kingdom, only in my own self-built kingdom. Who else, please? Somebody. Joan.
My self-concern is my kingdom with a small k. Therefore, how can I ever even think about a kingdom with a large?
Put it stronger, then you can come on again if you wish. Put it stronger. The self is the avowed enemy of the kingdom. Anything that is of higher than itself, it despises. It wants nothing to do with it because its imagination is saying. The self always says in its conceit, I am all there is, and there had better not be any other, or bop. How's that for a line? There had better not be any other, or bop. Somebody.
Self-concern creates its own small space. And you told us many times the same thing as living in the cellar of a mansion.
Yes, yes. Self-enclosed. Yes, Frank?
The mind thinks it's God, but it gets very nervous when it finds out it cannot do the job.
Yeah, that's a good summary. When anyone challenges it, notice that the face gets tense, nervous.
If I actually knew that I owned my own life, I would not be outside trying to steal to justify the kingdom.
Yes, that's very good.
The self always wants to change the self, and the absence of the self is the change that is the kingdom.
Say that again.
The self always wants to change the self.
Oh, okay, get advantages.
Right. The absence of the self, which is not doing, is the kingdom.
Yes, oh yeah, sure. All right, we're in open discussion. Any questions, anything you want from now on? Statements, comments? Go ahead, please.
Well, we're talking about opposites and about what war really is. War, what causes war to start,
Yeah.
what brings it to an end.
Yeah.
I went into memory back to the place where I work, and I can see that this is a battlefield right there. There's full-scale war all around us.
Oh yes, the world is a battlefield, the whole world. Correct. Yeah. Certain movements get tired. It's the ending of the war, which I was trying to explain before. Not because men suddenly just looked around and said, oh, how terrible we are to slaughter all these human beings. There's nothing to that at all. It's simply that they want a new thrill. And you know what the new thrill is? The thrill of false peace. Their own self-advantages come into it, for example. Maybe this is all unconscious, of course, and people would never believe what they're hearing here. They would never believe it. They can't understand it. They don't want to understand it. But even businessmen who seize thousands of businessmen or government officials, anyone who sees there'd be more advantage to the self in having peace for a while, then they say, let's have peace for a while, but they put the phony label on it. Oh, we want peace more than anything else, and blah, 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 other lies. If you wanted peace, why'd you go to war? Somebody.
Yeah, 2 months ago, there were 2 countries who were very enthused about their peaceful prospect of the future, and now they're saying no, there might be war. It's only 2 months.
Well, look, how many here really know that that's insanity, which you see every night on TV about these countries and their peace now? You know why it's on TV, don't you? Because this is a thrill to people. People want the thrill.
We protect everything externally instead of beginning to protect the real value, the internal conditions. For instance, when we have a new dress and we think it's so beautiful, and we make a spot on it and we fall apart over it. And it is so temporary. Where actually this energy should be turned inward to protect this energy we're spilling out.
All right.
Now, what we're seeing on the TV, because of this class, is logically, it's very clear that it's insane, but there's still forces inside that don't want to stick with that clarity.
No, because if you lose your insanity, who will you be? How many of you are kind of nutty? I looked around for hands on that one. Who? No, nobody.
In connection with losing ourselves, all these exercises that we do are nothing but teachings to see that we cannot do and aren't there anyway, that we're nothing.
Yes, that's very good. And what he's saying, in his own way of saying it, please, can I just get so tired of trying to save myself that I don't care what happens to me anymore? Do you know you have to reach that stage? You don't care what happens to you anymore. So because the me that you're talking about is such dreadful pain. You don't want to live with yourself anymore. You have to reach this point. But very few people, when they reach this point, have the beginning entrance of the light that takes this crisis and turns the crisis upward. Millions of human beings go in the other direction because everybody who has not found themselves is in one way tired of living with themselves. And so they go into psychological suicide, physical suicide, mental suicide, distractive suicide. Everybody who has not found themselves is one state of ongoing suicide all the time. The only difference in us, which is a miracle of God, is that we got to the point where life wasn't worth living, but at the same time, because we had this yearning to find something else other than death, we sensed that if we could admit a little bit of light, there would be a turning point. In one sense, we did not surrender to the death that's inside of us. We did not say, you just take me, I'm yours anyway. But there's something that said, I am not going to surrender fully to the death that has already got me 99%. And the 1% then admitted the light, and then one person in 10,000, or whatever the figure is, we never know, one person in 10,000 turned toward the light instead of turned toward full darkness. It's the only difference. But you have to be aware of your exhaustion as exhaustion. How many people are taking boats down to the lake today instead of calling it a form of exhaustion, which it is, because they don't know what to do with themselves. They've got to keep something going. Instead of calling it, I'm so exhausted, I guess I have to take my boat out again. They don't. They don't say that. They force the smile, and the dumbhead man gets his wife, dear, we're going out in the boat again, and she has to force her smile. She doesn't know what else to do, too. She's just as lost as he is. But so she goes along with him, and she says, oh dear, we're going to have another good time today. Again, the difference in us is knowing exhaustion as exhaustion. That is intelligence. That is not lying anymore. You're on. Al.
What you were talking about could be called standard operating procedure, SOP.
What was I talking about?
Well, that people are lost and they don't know it. They have habits, and these habits...
Yes. Yes. I was wondering which one you were connecting that to at all. That's quite right. Well, it's a whole world. It's a whole world.
The only way out of this insanity is the inside and outside insanity seems like the strength to stay constantly awake.
Yes, yes.
That idea of strength has its opposite of weakness, but it seems as though this exhaustion needs to be valued with respect to some kind of a strength or a mastery to give up.
Oh yes, give up. Give up thinking there's someone to give up.
Carrying on the boat thing, I've been into this. They organize into a yacht club, and then they start a competitive race just to get the stimulation and purpose for the day.
Was your yacht a rowboat?
Yeah.
Is not the natural opposite for true strength humility?
What?
Is not the natural opposite for true strength humility?
A natural opposite. No, don't speak of opposites up here. Speak of them only down here. True strength and humility are the same.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Yes.
Real humility means I know I don't own anything of myself at all. I own nothing. I don't even own the physical body. See, any sense of ownership implies division, doesn't it? I own that. When they disappear, then there's just one thing. And this is what we're after, this one thing, where there's no me at all, but one thing, which is the effortless action, effortless strength, effortless wisdom. Look how hard all of us here one time worked at trying to be wise. Trying to be wise in my own eyes, impress myself, trying to impress the wife, how brilliant I am in philosophy or everyday anything at all. Look how that wore us out, trying to be wise and strong.
So the idea of strength is actually the realization of the uselessness of the I living.
Exactly. the realization of it, of course.
I'm aware of the resistance of all of us, of this idea that we of ourselves have no strength. Everybody puts it into just different words. But the basic reality is that we do have nothing. Even the strength, the energy to walk around is not ours.
Sure. You are gesturing then, but not with your own strength or energy. Look. Here's a house. And in this house are electric lights burning. There's a television set running. There's an electric train going around this child's room. There's a washing machine running. You take a pair of pliers and go out to the wire, electrical wire, and cut that wire. What's going to happen to all those activities in there?
It of itself can do nothing.
Yes. It's the cosmic powerhouse that is enabling me to hold my hand up like this, to talk, to use words, to remember the English language. It's the cosmic powerhouse that it's enabling me to do this, enabling you to sit there. But my vanity is at enmity with that thought, isn't it?
Right.
Do you know how hard, just a minute, Jim, how hard this is to understand? You think new people coming here or us sitting here, you think that's going to be easy to grasp? Remember I said you go out of here, all the devils in the world are going to pounce on you? The presence of the false I in any of us is very, very easily detectable if I want to detect it, if I want to see it. Anger is always a sign of the false I. Right? Agreed?
Yes.
Huh? Anger of any kind is always a sign of the false I. Distress is a sign of the false I. Pretense is a sign of it. Fear. On and on and on. Now look, come on. It isn't as hard as all that for any of us here to go out of that door and make up our minds that we're going to watch the feelings, the thoughts, the facial expressions, what we say to people, in order to detect the presence of the false I in us. We can do it. But do we want to do it? People who come here and go away, you know why? Because their false I sends up a danger signal. Danger. You're in a hazardous place. Don't come back, or something bad will happen to you. Can't we see that the same thing is happening to us out there? Let's see the hands of the crabs this week. It's here. But curiously, if you want to use that word, your prayers to your false god of yourself are always answered equally, but on that level. You ask to get married to someone who's on your level. You have asked for the fights that are going to follow that marriage. You ask for it. Your prayer was your level. Your level was your prayer. And so you two people were attracted to each other. You're going to have fights. That's what you asked for. That prayer was answered perfectly. As my nature changes, as it rises, I cease to ask for fights. And so they go out of my life because I don't have any value in them anymore. When two very sick people get married or get into a relationship, way down underneath, both know they're going to fight. They sense it. Not only that, but they value it. They look forward to it. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
The sick nature always looks forward to being fed more sickness. It can't survive without it. Of course it can't. It gets scared if it doesn't have its fight a day.
The world reinforces that, telling them that it's healthy.
Yes. Get your hostilities out into the open.
In connection with this, last night I thought of something. In a relationship with a person, I was very happy when that person crucified me, because then I had a reason to punish that person. And I realized this last night that this is the game I was playing for years.
Yes. That is a statement we'll take. Sure. Tom.
You said in a talk once that the world belongs to nature or God, but the psychological state of the planet belongs to the devil.
Right. Correct. Mm-hmm. That's clear.
Very easy to see when you see that everybody is in a state of chaos and violence, and all you have to do is walk out a door away from the angry mob and walk outside, and it's absolute peace and harmony. But okay, sure.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
This is, I'm repeating the seeing of a connection, and the connection is that we should start to look at life as psychological activity and not as physical things.
Yes, the physical is there, but the psychological directs it. Do you ever think that the physical body will be as sick in its expressions as the inner psychological self is? Just watch people as an experiment, observation, and see where you can detect their sick inner nature simply by the way they behave. For example, not there. For example, when you check your groceries out, how come all of a sudden she's got everything all checked out and she's even got them bagged, and the man or the woman suddenly comes, oh, he reaches for his money. Why did you, and that takes another 2 or 3 inefficient minutes. Why don't you have your money right out, even standing in line? Do that. You try to see how efficient you can be in that grocery line. Even bag your own groceries if you want. See how efficient you can be. And as you get really consciously efficient, you'll see everybody is mad. They're standing in that line.
The watchman that inside of me that I'm developing, motivated by my madness, has trouble shifting gears in the situation that you just explained, where should I be thinking about little efficiencies, or am I just, is that just another...
Write down a sentence. Do what you're supposed to do at the moment you're supposed to do it. Do what you're supposed to do at the moment you're supposed to do it. You're not supposed to be in Zanzibar when you're checking your groceries out. You're supposed to be checking your groceries out, dumbheads.
What happened to Borneo?
Well, we kind of transcended that. Zanzibar is worse. I think Gene and back.
I had to cross Tropicana on foot, and there's road work, so there's a terrific tie-up, and this was at the rush hour. And all of a sudden, I heard cussing, and the man was all alone in the car, just swearing up a storm at the traffic. And then I started looking, woke up a minute, and looked, and I mean, people were shaking their fists and being rageful. Oh.
At you? Did you?
No, at the traffic.
Oh, at the traffic, yeah.
But it was different walking next to the cars.
Yeah, I
than
see.
being in another car.
Yes. You could see it more clearly. Yeah. Right. This is...
I was just going to offer Pango Pango as another alternative.
It does have a certain ring to it, doesn't it? Besides, it's Pago Pago. No? Pango Pango? Okay. Let's do remember that.
Maybe when Leland comes back, he can suggest some places.
Oh, dear. We've got enough.
Vernon, taking on my own responsibilities is very helpful in the daily work, where I used to claim that others would have to carry the load and get angry because they didn't carry their load. I take on more in order, how should I say, instead of complaining, I do it, trying to be aware of doing it.
Yes, that's very good.
And it's very helpful.
Yes, yes. This is a very special type of work project, and you have to be very careful in it, but it's very good, which goes something like this. Always bear the burdens of the world. Now careful. The world refuses to take its responsibilities. It refuses to do what is right. The other person wants to blab your ear off. He won't take his responsibility even for a give and take conversation, even when you have to discuss practical matters. Very few people can be practical in anything at all. Their whole lives are a mess. Everything else is a mess. You bear the burden of another person's inability to behave properly. That simply means that you don't add to the burden by behaving as badly as he does, or hating it, or being impatient about it. You not only bear your own burdens, but now make it worse by bearing his. You understand? No matter how badly they behave, it's very difficult. I've never explained anything more difficult to try to get over to you because the proper words don't come. And it's also tricky so that you don't get into thinking that you're bearing their burdens because you're a savior of the world or anything like that. Figure it out.
That can also, I know with me, stop some of the judging I'm constantly doing of somebody else or the world.
Judging, yes. Yeah.
Bearing the burden is refusing to give the world the response that it wants. Could that be another way?
It could connect with it, yes. That's too fine. I'll have to get it down in black and white.
In connection with this, I find bearing the burden without any
Sense of being a hero.
yes, this bearing the burden will give you the opportunity to understand that the other person is not capable of carrying this burden.
That's fine. That's very good. Tom.
There's a good story, it's a biblical story in the recommended reading about the master of the house who hired the laborers, and as the day progressed, he gave the same pay to the men who got there at the end as was given to the men at the beginning. And of course, the early laborers complained about the difference in pay.
Right.
He said that the master representing something much higher.
Oh, yes, yes.
Them all.
Yes, you know, comment on that briefly, Tom, then we'll go to Frank. As long as we have a sense of injustice, we're still in the bat cave. Take extreme cases of both individuals and groups who are always screaming injustice. I don't get my rights. These people are inhabitants of the bat caves, which means as we begin to escape, the whole sense of injustice disappears because there's no one there to have been treated badly. But it's a very strong reinforcement of our sickness to scream persecution, scream for my rights, to scream how much injustice I've had toward me. The cancellation of time cancels all definitions of justice and injustice. The ideas of justice or injustice live only in time.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I remembered about bearing the burden, what you said a little over a year ago about being a conscious carpet walked on by sleeping people
That's
without
good.
a resentment.
That's very good. Yes. A conscious carpet. Ernesto.
Yes, what Tom said, when I start in the beginning, I get the pay at the day of the day, at the end of the day, I feel bad that somebody get the pay for 2 hours job. But when I am in the other side, I made the job in 2 hours, and the other people work 8 hours, I feel better. So I think it's injustice.
I understand, yeah.
That's the way
Right. Yes. By the way, all of you know we'll be at Leland's tomorrow, don't you? Right. I bore your burden for you, Joan.
The statement was made, a conscious carpet walked over by sleeping people, and what was the end of it?
Bears no resentment.
Bears no resentment.
You know, then the time comes when you're nothing but a conscious carpet. You don't care who walks over you. You know? Who are they walking over? Nothing.
Put a welcome sign.
That's good.
As you progress, the nuts drop off by themselves, so by that time, there won't be anybody walking on it anyhow.
Yeah, everything disappears. The carpet disappears, the walkers disappear, the welcome mat disappears. All these are concepts, ideas, thoughts, centered around the fact that you're a conscious carpet. You're not that. You're not even a flying carpet. See how associations work with carpets? We've got 10 minutes more. So we don't have too long a blank. Oh, you want to shut it off till someone talks? How do you work that?
He said, I got the idea to make a lot of money now. Is that okay, or is
You got a little more idea of what this is all about? Is that...
No, but it's a lot of business coming to my mind, you know. Okay, I'm going to put it in practice now. Is that okay, or is again this?
Oh, no. The thought that you're going to put this into practice is a right thought. If I followed you, no.
I asking you is to make a lot of money. Is again this world, or I'm going? It's a temptation coming in a thought.
You're going to give the group a lot of money? Is that what you're saying? That's the right thought.
I got a lot of business.
You've got a little business.
A thought business coming to my mind all the time now. So I'm going to put those thoughts in practice. Is that all right? Or is
Yes, that's all right, Ernesto. I think so. Linda.
I have a question along the same lines. In other words, as long as you have to go out and to make money, is there anything wrong with making the most money that you can?
No, nothing wrong with making money. The everyday level operates on the opposites. And if we were sane, it would operate properly on the opposites. I would trade my yams for your tomatoes, say, and because that's what we each grow, and there'd be no problem there. The trouble is, I want to get more out of the deal than you get. I want to sell my products for twice the price, that you sell yours to me, so I can get an advantage. So it's all right to earn money. You have to earn money. And let me tell you something, by the way. Let's see if you can begin to grasp this. I one time said this to Murray, and so I'll repeat it exactly as I said it to him. There is a billion miles higher source of benefits, income, finances, a billion miles higher source for this group, and for me personally, by the way, than any individual in this room. I'll leave that with you and see what you do with it. You think you have something to give to this work? You've identified with the money you're giving to this group? You have identified with the energy and time you're giving to I see. You're using the group instead of dissolving the sense of self to build it. I don't depend on any of you for anything. That would be folly. There's a much higher source than any of you for any good things, generally speaking, that this group needs. Linda.
Then in other words, as long as you have to work on yourself first, and then ways to make the right income will come to you?
Yes, but just drop that for now, Linda, or you're going to walk right into a terrible confusion. Take the ABCs on it. Not a sparrow falls, but that God doesn't notice. Let me phrase that a little clearer, the original way. Every sparrow that falls is noticed by God. Nothing happens, but it is noticed by God and taken care of by God. But we are not under the dominion of God. We're under the tyranny of ourselves. And that's why we suffer. That's why you'll understand what I'm going to say, I'm sure. The self has no security at all. It can't have any security in any way. Financial, psychological, social, physical. How can you have physical security in this world when you're afraid to walk the streets at night for fear of getting bopped? We don't even have physical security. Or you're going to be hauled into the army to get shot at. There is security, but it is not of humanity. And that should be most the obvious statement of the week. Isn't there a phrase somewhere in the Old Testament, something, I've got it very, very vague, something like, some trust in chariots, but we trust in God? See? If you're trusting in material possessions, if you're trusting in human beings, if you're trusting in your own invented personality, you're going to be led astray, you're going to be despondent, you're going to be afraid. Why not trusting God? That's the truth after all, trusting God. Yes?
One way that I personally understand what you just said about God caring for everything and knowing, having this understanding of all that happens, is that just looking at the physical world, there are such small creatures, such small living things, and there are such big ones, such large things, and everything is given life, and it's extraordinary.
Yes. Maybe if you take, excuse me. Maybe if we take a sparrow and see the sparrow certainly has no life of his own. Is not one sparrow on the ground taking his energy from the same source as the next sparrow to him, and the next sparrow to him, the next sparrow? And isn't that tree growing over here taking its energy from the same source? Isn't the sun, the fantastic huge, taking its energy from the same cosmic source? Then are we not also, every one of us in this room seated here now, I'm going like this because I'm getting my energy from up here. You get your hands like that, you're thinking certain things, your legs are crossed and they uncross, all activated by the same energy up there. The energy can continue to operate in eternity as long as we make a firm connection with it while we're here in the human body. And I'll leave that one for you to think about too. Yes, Duffy.
And I don't know how this connects to this, but it just occurred to me. When I'm out there in daily living, there is no rightness from anybody or from anything given to me. When I come in this room, I feel a lot of rightness I want to carry out, but out there, I'm on my own. When I come back here, I can, so to speak, refuel. But when I'm out there, it's quite obvious that I have to make this energy my own in order to make it stronger.
Mm-hmm. Write down a final thought, please, and then we'll say good morning. I neither give anything nor am given anything. All comes from God. I neither give anything nor am given anything by other people, obviously. All comes from God. Good morning.